Mm-mm-mm. Da 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 da. Hey, hey there, ho there, hello there. As I clear my throat, divine rise, blessed be to your day. May it be everything you require to create everything that you desire. Understanding that healing is destructive, you're deserving, but you're not entitled. And this level of honesty is going to force you to sit in your transparency, to become more vulnerable, i.e. more aware. This is day 2. If you did not look at the post that I made today, we got into the aspects of day 2. This is day 2 of the process of breaking the stride of thinking positively. I've been sitting here thinking about it. What's up, bro? I've been sitting here thinking about it for a little bit, thinking about the aspects of thinking positively versus thinking constructively, and what it takes to actually sit inside of that constructive space. Sitting inside of your heart space, sitting inside of the heart, dealing with the aspects of your heart. Understanding it between substance and filler. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to sit outside I'm going to sit under my favorite tree, and it just came like, let me drop it off now. So it's going to seem fast, it's going to seem all over the place, but we always bring it into that focus of the structure. To think instinctively is to think constructively. I'm going to say that one more time. To think constructively. To think constructively is the act of thinking intentionally. Think about when you wake up in the beginning of an aspect of your day. How much of your day, you have a purpose, you have a mission. Peace, peace, peace. Oh shit, go down. Don't do that ever again. You have your purpose. You have your purpose. You got your mission. You know what your day is. When we think about the aspects of when you're meditating, you're setting your tone. When you're thinking about your meditation, you're becoming aware of the space in which you're sitting in with your intentions. When I do a meditation, my mindset goes into my thoughts. It's heavily inside of my thoughts. That means my mindset is heavily inside of my thoughts. That means I'm thinking about what I have to do next. I'm thinking about what I have to do tomorrow, what I got to do in all of these aspects of the day. Then I'm understanding that I'm inside of my head. I'm in my head. I'm in my thoughts. I'm thinking about the feeling. That means I can I need to think positive. I got to think about the positive things. I got to think positively. I got to think about the positive. I got to stop looking at the negative, or harping on the narrative, or hopping on the negative narrative. I always noticed that every time that I was thinking about the positive and trying to focus on the positive, that would keep my mind on a certain outcome. That means a certain outcome had to happen, or a certain result had to happen in order for me to stay positive. Something had to happen to make me stay within the positive. So even if the negative comes up, I'm still thinking about the positive. Therefore, I'm now stuck within the bias of I'm going to ignore whatever negative comes up. Now I want you to think about this aspect as we get deeper into this. I didn't realize how much for me in that thought, how much BS that was. How much that was an aspect of BS. Me focusing only on the positive. When the negative came up, don't think about the negative. I wasn't being constructive. I would only be constructive based on positive aspects. That means I would only become passively constructive when something was positive. That means if I woke up in the morning and the money hit my bank account, now I can go do things based on the money hitting my bank account. But if the money didn't hit my bank account at a point in time, all of these negative thoughts would come up like, yo, it's my money and I worked hard for it, or I've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks now. I'm tired of being held back. They playing with me. They're playing with my money. They're playing with my emotions. How they expect somebody to live, how they expect somebody to eat, how they expect somebody to survive. I'm not listening to what I'm saying, because everything that I'm saying is a negative affirmation. Everything that I'm saying is a negative affirmation. Everything that I'm saying is confirming my environment. Peace, God, peace. Everything that I'm saying is confirming or validating my environment and validating the feelings that I'm having, the thought of the feeling that I'm having. So the moment that something now comes into my space, this is what happens when we're not thinking constructively. The moment that something happens or that comes into my space, I immediately am always going to think about the negative. Why? Because I haven't constructed anything that's based on learning on my intentions. I haven't built anything for that space. Everything that you're doing basically becomes filler. Everything that I was doing inside of that space with my mindset basically became filler. So the only time that I would get up, I'm going to break down an example. I woke up like most of my days. I woke up, did my meditation, did my body scan, did my meditation. I got up. I looked at myself in the mirror. I talk cash shit. I talk real fly shit to myself in the mirror. I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear my locks down today. Something as simple. I'm going to wear my locks down today. Let me condition my locks. Let me get my oil I've been working on up to condition my locks. Let me take this time to myself. I couldn't do that if I didn't set the tone the day before. I couldn't do this, or it wouldn't happen, or I couldn't flow to the opportunity because I wasn't sitting in that space of opportunity. I was sitting in that space from a point of, I'm thinking positive. I'm going to think positive. I'm going to think based on the hope mantra. I want you to, peace. I want you to think about this. I was thinking based on a lot of the things that we do based on the thinking positively in our lives, or trying to think positive, omit the negative. It keeps us in the hoping mantra. We create our intentions are based on hope. That means I hope now, let's go back. I hope that when I wake up, that I'm able to do my hair, I'm able to wear my hair down, I'm able to act a certain way. So now I'm looking for all opportunities that are now going to be in opposition. Remember, I talk about this all the time. That box that comes to you, that has all of your opportunities in it, also has all of the obstacles and all your oppositions in it. That same box that you reaching into, hoping for an opportunity. That same box that you going into, hoping for an opportunity. You don't know what an opportunity looks like. So anything you pull out of that box based on the old aspects of yourself or the negative you pull out, you automatically sitting there holding it, and it's making you feel some type of way. Now you pulled out the, man, this make me feel some type of way. What is this feeling? Why am I feeling this? Why every time that when this does come up, I feel this way? I've already defined this feeling in my thoughts. I've defined this feeling in thought, but I haven't felt it. I've defined this feeling in thought, but I haven't felt it. I haven't allowed myself to explore this feeling and where it's going to take me inside of my body. I'm not allowing myself to sit in the heart space. I'm not allowing myself to sit inside of my heart space. I'm not allowing myself to sit there. I'm not allowing myself to reflect. I'm not giving myself time to reflect, because the aspects of my day used to be get up, get to the money, get up, get to the bag, get up, get to this, get up, get to cleaning, get up, get to this, get up and get to this. None of those things are wrong. None of those things are wrong in this context, but it's all in how you approach these things. If I'm approaching cleaning my house while thinking positively, anything 9 times out of 10, when you're thinking about when you cleaning out, let's say you had to clean out your closet. You cleaning out the closet, the cabinets, whatever, cleaning up under the couch, you cleaning up some shit. Almost immediately and unconsciously, as you're sitting there going in your closet, and let's say you went, I remember going in my closet and I'm looking at shirts I haven't worn in years. I'm looking at outfits. I'm looking at shoes. I'm looking at all types of bullshit that I've bought over the years, bought over that span of time. All of these things were based on me feeling good. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to validate my happiness. I was happy I could go to the mall and I could go tear down the mall. I was happy that I could go tear down the mall. I was happy that I can go into that space. But when it sat back in my closet, the space that I didn't build based off of happiness, I didn't construct my closet based on happiness. I didn't construct my closet based on happiness. I didn't construct my house based on happiness. I cannot construct the space to reflect happiness. Now think about this. The moment that I sat there, okay, cool, I went and bought this shirt. It was a large. I bought this shirt. So I went and bought that shirt. I went and bought those pants. I went and bought this outfit. And I put that outfit on to feel happy again. Now it doesn't fit right. Man, I don't like the way this shirt fits. I don't like the way this shirt fits. I still ain't got the shoes. I still didn't go get the shoes that I needed to match that outfit. I still didn't get the hat. I still didn't get the crown. I still didn't get what I needed to finish this feeling. This is all in the aspects of sitting inside of your heart space. Most of the times when we're moving around and we're doing most of the things that we're doing, since we're thinking positively in our lives, we're stuck on that feeling itself. You're stuck on the thought of that feeling. This makes me happy. I need to complete this set, this outfit, this identity to keep me happy. As long as this is there, I'm happy. When it's not there, I'm not happy. Here becomes the honesty of sitting in your heart space. You aren't happy to begin with. You aren't happy to begin with. Because if you were happy to begin with, you would construct from an aspect, your intentions would change. If I'm in a mood, if I'm inside of a space where I'm sitting in my heart space and I'm sitting with these feelings and I'm evaluating and assessing my feelings, every time that I'm sitting inside of this space, no matter what comes up is an opportunity. No matter what comes up is an opportunity for my space where I'm at to bring me closer to myself, to make me more intimate with myself. But since I was so stuck on trying to make everything else look happy, so I was basically avoiding my home space, my heart space. Everything else, and I talk about this all the time, everything else was stuck in this aspect of perception. The perception of happiness, the perception of the feeling. So now, instead of me internalizing, I'm externalizing, and my ego now takes first string. This is how your ego gonna take first ring. Because your ego, all it does is deal with the physical. It deals with the physical manifestation of the emotion. It deals with the afterthought. Your ego deals with the afterthought. I've talked about this before when we go into the aspects. Your mind, whenever something happens, like if I cut myself or burn myself, your mind is like 0.5 seconds behind of the reaction. Your mind is 0.5 seconds behind on the reaction of the impulse. Now remember, an emotional impulse is only 90 seconds. An emotional impulse is only 90 seconds. So if I'm stuck inside of my head and the emotional impulse is only 90 seconds, and 0.5 of that second is already gone from that 90 seconds, my mind automatically, based on thought being in the past, is trying to reassure my safety. It's trying to reassure me with a memory, with a thought of why I need to think positive. So I bring up the negative. I want you to understand this. I bring up the negative, but I don't sit with the negative, because I'm only thinking about the positive. I bring up the negative, what could happen. So now the negative in my mind, based on that linear aspect, positive serves me a purpose, negative doesn't serve me a purpose. Positive serves me a purpose, negative doesn't serve me a purpose. But when I'm sitting inside of that space and I realize that I've had negative things happen and I've done some negative shit, and I'm accepting of my negatives, my dark aspects, there's some negative things that I've done that served me a purpose. There's some shit that I've done that was negative that served me a purpose. There's some things that I'm still doing in a positive sense. That means I'm going to work. I'm going to work being positive. I'm paying the bills being positive. But at the end of 30 days, I'm nowhere closer to myself. I'm further away from myself. So that means there's positive things that we do that don't serve a purpose anymore. There's positive things that you're going to do that don't serve a purpose. There's negative things that there's things that are going to be deemed negative inside of your life that actually serve a purpose. They're only negative based on somebody else's perception of it. But since I'm so stuck on everybody else's perception of me and how I look and how I hold myself and what I do and what I say in that space, 9 times out of 10, I would ignore being negative. I would try to validate my reasoning. So now I'm stuck in the rational process. Yesterday, that's what I made that post for yesterday. I made 3 posts. Sit there with yourself, and if you cross your arms like this, and this is normal to you, that means you're, based on whatever hand you are, if you're sitting like this, my arms are crossed like this. If I switch the way I cross my arms, that means my left hand gets tucked, my left hand is tucked, my right hand is under. If I switch this to my right hand being on top, my left hand being on the bottom, this shit feel weird as fuck. This shit feel weird as hell to me. Because I don't use my left hand. I don't use my right hand that much. I'm not used to this position. If I'm sitting inside of a meditative stance and I'm used to my left leg crossing over and being on the outside, so now I'm taking my right leg and putting it on the outside. That doesn't feel normal to me. And now this is when we start thinking about when you're sitting inside of your heart space, it's the act of activating or initiating your cognitive dissonance. Sitting in your heart space is going to require you to become active in your cognitive dissonance. Your cognitive dissonance. That isn't right. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. I don't want to do it because it doesn't feel right. If it don't feel right, then I'm not going to do it. You have to really think about that. You're sitting in your cognitive dissonance. Sitting in your heart space is sitting in your cognitive dissonance. The way that you used to plan out your life, the way that you used to plan out your day, now has to change. Oh my God, I got to change how I plan out my day. What if I don't feel like doing it? There's shit that I did. It's not about the feeling of not feeling like doing it. It's the connotation or the emotional energy, it's the emotions that you put behind it. There's things I don't feel like, for example, I don't feel like cutting the grass. I don't feel like trimming the hedges. I don't feel like cutting the grass and trimming the hedges. Sometimes. I really don't. But I have to remember what space I'm in. Now I have to now when my ego brings that to me, like, you don't feel like doing that. You feel like sitting the fuck down and relaxing for the day. You feel like doing that shit. Don't do it tomorrow. I have to now bring myself to the present space and let my ego know, like, yo, you gotta remember what we've been doing for the last couple of months. For the last couple of months, you have been putting together and establishing your public presence as the therapist, as the shaman, as the healer, as you doing your works. You have been setting the tone in your works and creating a new environment. You are now public on Google. I am now public on Google. You can Google me and I'll come up and it'll show you the house where I'm at. I'm now public on Google. So I'm in a different space. I'm in a different space. And now that I'm in that space, I must do, my skill set must grow. My skill set is now to be attuned to only to that space. See, this is where we get out. This is when we start thinking constructively. This is where we start getting into the aspect of being constructive, setting new intentions, setting out those plays. This is whenever you start hearing about, whenever you're manifesting money or whenever you're manifesting something, don't limit yourself and don't try to manifest $200, manifest $3,000. Go all the way out. And y'all have heard me talk about give yourself outlandish shit. Because the more outlandish it is, the more wide it is, the more that you have to stretch beyond your old experiences to shift your reality. The more space you give yourself. One of the biggest things when it comes into us actually sitting in the heart space is you're not used to having space. I had to understand, for a lot of times I wasn't used to having space. I wasn't used to having space. I wasn't used to having opportunities. I wasn't used to it. I wasn't used to having space. I wasn't used to having opportunities. I wasn't used to those things. I wasn't used to, I can be happy without having to do something. I can be happy not based on what I'm doing, but based on what I'm becoming. I don't know what that feels like. I can be happy and wake up in the morning. I can wake up in the morning and I don't have to be going somewhere to put myself together. And even in the day, now this changes it. Now, and I'm gonna jump ahead to come back. Now into a space of example. Let's say I didn't feel like doing my hair today. Let's say I didn't feel like conditioning my locks and rolling my locks in oil today. I've expanded my space. I'm gonna explain it next. I've expanded my space past the point of going back to the only way that I will do my hair or shave, do my lineup is to be seen to get that feeling, to get that impulse. So on a day where I don't feel like doing my locks, or a day I don't feel like shaving or conditioning my beard, those become days where my intentions are no longer, the bare minimum now changes. Remember, you're always going to see, everything graduates, settles down into the bare minimum. Your whole routine, your whole process, it all seeks down into that bare minimum aspect. So now when I sit into the space, but I don't feel like doing my hair, that's the time for me to do a hot oil treatment on my head. take my locks, grab a bag, grab the little bonnet joint, wash my hair, dry it, get it nice and conditioned, drop my hot oil treatment, roll my hair up in the bag, and that's what I'm going to do all day. I'm going to have my hair in the bag, let my hair just condition all day, condition my beard all day. While I'm inside of this mode, I'm being constructive, intentional, self-care. My intentions are my self-care routine. Now everything that I'm doing, I've opened up my ego is now bypassed. My ego is now looking for more routines based on self-care because I've already programmed those in. What else is a part of my self-care routine? Studying, reading. I had like 75 ideas. I had like 75 downloads in my mind in between making this video, making that post, I had all of this shit coming to my mind. But now I'm sitting in the heart space. So now instead of reaction, my mind now is in contemplation. Let me contemplate. Because that's all my mind does. That's all my brain does is contemplates. It contemplates based on the suggestion of how I'm feeling. Since I sat in that heart space with my feelings, and I've been sitting in that heart space with my feelings, and I've been assessing my feelings for so long, for this long period of time, now my conversations are different. But before this moment, which explains what makes us do this, I didn't build up enough credit. I didn't build up enough credit yet. I didn't build up enough in that space yet. I didn't build anything up yet. Sitting in my heart space and not being used to space, being used to being constricted, being used to being timid, being used to being locked down or in this state of being oppressed with myself, I would only do things based on, the bare minimum. That means when I went to work, that was the only time I would get anything done. I'm going to work to do something. I'm going to work to do some shit. I'm going to go to work. That means I got to look a certain way, smell nice, all of these things. Only when I'm going to work. When I'm at the house, I'm me. I'm me at the house. That means, what is my me at the house? I'm relaxed. I ain't going to brush my teeth. I ain't going to do nothing to my hair. I'm not going to condition my beard. I'm not going to do any of these fucking things because this is the real me. What I'm telling my ego is the authentic version of me is less than the version that I give everything else. What I'm telling myself is the real version of me has less value. The real version of myself has less value because I'm not doing anything. And now my ego is gonna say, you just relaxed it. You deserved having a day off. You deserve to take the day off. You deserve not to worry about some things. You deserve not to stress. You deserve it. But remember, you got to go back to work tomorrow. But remember, you got to do this, this, and this. So now my ego is playing taskmaster. My ego is playing taskmaster. So I can't sit in my heart space. I can't sit in the feeling. I'm not regulating my emotions. I'm allowing my emotions to go everywhere in the fucking world. I'm allowing my anxiety to ride me out, my anxiousness to ride me out. I'm allowing my self-worth to ride me out. I'm allowing everything to ride me out. And it's going to be searching for something. Because remember, your emotions are what you feed on. Your emotions are what you feed on down here. You eat with your emotions. You speak with your emotions. You eat with your emotions. You do everything down here based on emotion. In the higher aspects, that's your energy, that's the energy, or that's the aspects of your magic. What you set your intentions to. So if every time I've done something was based on being anxious, or my anxiety came in and I was trying to block my anxiety, or block my anxiousness, or block that feeling, yes, exactly, block that feeling, then that's what I'm telling my ego to do. Now, every time that I do something, I'm not constructing anything. I'm giving away my ability to construct. I'm giving my ability to set intentions. I'm giving all of it away. But I'm actively still affirming it. See, the affirmations come naturally with everything that you speak. The affirmation comes naturally based off how you honor your thoughts. That's your aspects of your basis of your affirmations. The energy that you put behind that. So anxiousness. So if I'm anxious, but a chick looks at me and she thinks that I'm cute, now I get anxious. Let's use that aspect. This chick looking, oh my God, she think I'm cute. This feeling of anxiety coming up, that feeling of anxiousness coming up, that feeling coming up to the surface is going to force me to focus on everything that I have and what I'm doing. First, I'm going to look at what I look like. Okay, I got my locks down, like got my shirt. Okay, cool. I got my chain. Okay, I look good. I got my crystals and shit. All right, cool. So now, going into that space, I have no intention set. Since I have no intention, I have nothing to construct. Now, this becomes an aspect of whenever you're going into a space and you haven't constructed anything in that space, you become dependent upon that space. This is when we talk about one that does not understand or one that is not intimate with their passion always seeks a distraction. One that is not in tune with their passion always is going to seek that distraction. Whether that distraction is something positive or negative, whether it serves me or it doesn't serve me, that's auxiliary. I'm not really thinking about that. I don't care about that shit. Fuck that shit. All I'm thinking about is, you know what? I'm just trying to get through the day. I'm just trying to get through the day. I'm just trying to get to the next day, trying to get to the next moment. So now all of my thoughts automatically become dishonored. I'm not dedicated to my thoughts. I'm not dedicated to the feeling. I'm not dedicated to the action. I'm not dedicated to the action. I'm not dedicated to setting and being intentional. I'm not dedicated to being constructive. This is where we go into the aspects of understanding that healing is a destructive process. The first thing that I must understand is everywhere that I constructed something that was not based on the true aspects of sitting in my heart space, I have to deconstruct or it has to be destroyed. It has to be broken down. It has to be broken down in order for me to assess it. I can look at it all day. I can look at a bottle of water. I can look at a bottle of water all day. But until I deconstruct it by popping the top, that water's not going to do me any good. Something that simple. We want to make destroying something seem so fucking heinous and so outside of our potential. So we're staying inside of our comfort zone because we don't want to think destructively. We have examples that have given us the destruction of the black man, the destruction of the black community, the destruction of these aspects. But every time these aspects are brought up, do you always notice they're always to the aspects of a behavior or a pattern? They're always based on a behavior and a pattern. I don't know how many times I've seen, let's use this example while we're sitting with it. I was watching a video on TikTok. I'm always studying. I was looking at a video on TikTok and the girl asked, why are we mad at the white people for appropriating what we're calling black, but then when we get called ghetto or ratchet or one of these other extremes, we get mad at it. But 15 minutes earlier, we're always sitting in the space like, yo, man, why do we equate being in this lower aspect of ourselves as being us? Why do we keep ourselves in the mindset of the lower aspects of ourselves that we did based on survival? Why do we equate that to us as us? That's what we need to remain as. Why do I have to remain myself into the trap? Why do I got to remain within the aspects of being in the ghetto, being in the trap, being in this negative space all the time? Why do I have to remain there? Why do I purposely and intentionally set my intentions in the negative aspects, in a negative, or not even in the negative, but in the aspects of the lower emotional contrast, lower emotional comparisons? Why do I stay there? Why? Because that validates what I've been through. That validates what I've been through. That validates everything that I've been through. It validates my entitlement for more. It validates my need to hustle. It validates my need to hustle, to stay in the stay within that, stay in the grind. So every time that I do get something that is meant to excel or meant to take me to the next level, the first thing that I'm going to say is, in my mind, since I'm stuck in the negative connotations, negatives don't serve me a purpose, the first thing my ego is going to bring up is, yo, you know motherfuckers going to hate on you for having that, right? Motherfuckers going to hate on you as soon as you do that, right? You know that, right? Motherfuckers going to say you crazy for doing that, right? Motherfuckers going to say you crazy for dealing with your traumatic experiences. Motherfuckers gonna say that you crazy for what? You not gonna, so you don't want to so you don't want the security of a regular, you don't want the security of of that job. You don't want that. You don't want that. I don't need it. Me being honest with myself, I had to be like, yo, I don't need it. When we talk about the aspects, this is when we get into the aspects of manhood, that manhood narrative. Our manhood narrative was always based on being aggressive, being domineering, being in somebody's face, being loud, being inside of these mindsets. All that shit sound familiar? All that shit sound familiar to saying you ghetto fabulous. So anything outside of that isn't me. Anything outside of that isn't me. Anything based on naturally taking care of myself, self-care routines, building discipline, learning my urges, doing that internal work, reassuring my inner child, reassuring myself in this aspect of constructively reassuring myself, I don't want to do. That's too hard. If I do that, then everybody gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Everybody gonna look at me like I done lost my damn mind. Let them think it. Let them think it. One thing that I've noticed and learned is everybody that was based on my emotional impulse, me doing things based on impulse or living in impulse, 9 times out of 10 are still locked within that impulse. I noticed that even though I had a lot of movement, I was still stuck within inside of the same emotional impulses. Now remember, the emotional impulse is only 90 seconds. Remember, your brain is 0.5 seconds behind in response. So if I'm living based on impulse, and I'm always going to be behind. If I'm dependent upon the impulse, then I'm always going to be behind. And since I'm always behind my curve, I'm always behind learning something. And that's when we think about it, I'm always behind learning something. Therefore, my emotional intelligence. Therefore, I'm always behind financially. Therefore, I'm always got to create. What does my space look like? I'm behind on my bills. Man, I can't go do this. I can't go pay that. I can't go do that because I got to do this first. But you knew that 30 days prior. You knew that 15. You knew that prior. Who can I blame? Who can I blame? My own thoughts. My thoughts that keep manifesting my reality. Why is my reality like this? Why do I cling so hard to the memory but not the lesson? All of these things would go through my mind as I was all of these things went through my head or going through my mind as I was reconstructing my new reality. as I was looking at my multiple realities, I was reconstructing my realities. The first thing that I had to do when reconstructing my realities was assessing who I was in all of these realities. What was my purpose in each one of these realities? And when I really started sitting with it, I was like, I had no purpose. I had no true purpose in that reality other than to learn. Everything outside of my now will be based on me learning. Everything outside of my now is based on me learning. But since we're so used to trying to attract through positive thinking, things that are going to serve us a purpose in positive thinking, when that negative hit, you like, but she don't like me, or my job didn't give me the raise. Exactly. I had to understand, I was like, me simply having the thought of, you know what, I'm going to create the space for, I'm naturally going to create a space for the healing process, shadow work, going through the inner child healing, inner adolescence. It took me outside of my comfort zone at first. It took me outside of my comfort zone. I knew nothing of what the inner child was. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what the inner child was. I didn't know what the id was. I didn't know what the superego was. Correction. Scale back. I knew what the id was, and I knew what the id was. I knew what the superego was. I knew what these things were because I studied it when I was back in 2000s, the early 2000s, when I was studying psychology. But I didn't understand how to apply it because that was the hidden culture. That was the hidden aspect. That was the shit that was unseen. That was the spiritual aspect. That was the occult aspect. So when I really started doing the work and putting these things together, these crazy ass ideas, and seeing how they worked in my life, and really looking back and being able to go back to, I'll use an example, going back to every relationship that I ever was in and allowing myself to be what was necessary to maintain that space, it helped me evaluate that reality. It helped me accept that reality for what it was. Most of the times when I was trying to fit into that reality or into that space, it was based on a title. See, most of the times when you go into your space, you trying to fit based on a title. So whatever title you saying that's next for you to do, that's the title that you want to live by. So by the time you come up out of that space, you're not even upset at the space. You never were there. You never were inside of that space to begin with. What you're looking at in reality, as I do this real quick, slide over, hit that right there. What you're looking at inside of that reality, you're mad at the title didn't work. The title that you took on. Ooh, I'm going to be the best man ever. Ooh, I'm going to be the best brother, the best sister. My mother should have did this. You're not even mad at the person. You're not upset. Remember, the emotions are never aspects of being in the current. Only the impulse is of the current. That impulse on that current or that flow. That shit just came up and you gave it a title. You rationalized that aspect. You rationalized that aspect. You gave it an artificial intelligence. You gave it what we call the artificial intelligence. The only thing you remember about your mother being what she was is everything that you artificially created based on that thought. And as long as your mother is who you said that she was, as long as your mother was exactly as you said that she was, you can keep living out the same impulse. As long as my mother wasn't shit, as long as my mother wasn't doing what I felt that she should have did as a mother, I can keep living out the impulse of looking for that. Because that's what I'm now looking for. I'm thinking positive. One day I'm going to find a woman that's going to love me. One day I'm going to find a woman that's going to love me. She's going to nurture me. She's going to care for me. She's going to do everything. She's going to do everything. I'm ignoring the negative. I'm going to give her the title to show that she loves me. So now I just kicked out all of the negative. The negative is now still hidden. The negative is now hidden. Now this person serves as negative. Now, this is how crazy when you create that space. This is how I'm let you understand that you're the only one there. Now this person is in front of you. Now all of this person's issues and problems and things of that nature, everything of that person, everything that person is, that's what you're going to be acting through. You're going to be trying to fix all of those things. I can't, and then you'll tell yourself, I can't fix the past. Don't remember the past, can't fix the past. But why are you trying to fix it in the present? You're not present. You are not present. You're using that title into that space. There's nothing worse than you feeling powerless. There's nothing worse. There's no worse feeling than when you feel powerless. I remember feeling powerless at fucking points in time, man. I feel powerless. I can't do what I want to do. I can't do what I need to be doing in this point in time, but I'm not realizing that that's the trigger. That's the trigger. That's the trigger that's going to force me to sit inside of my heart space. That's the opening into my heart space. That's going to lead me to what I desire. My soul only operates on desire. My soul only operates on desire. So if my mindset is only stuck on my negative aspects, my ego, then it's always going to be based on the urge. So now my urge becomes, as long as my urge is fulfilled, I'm fulfilled. But why do I feel empty afterwards? Why do I have to keep doing it? If I'm truly fulfilled in that space, then why do I have to keep doing it? If I'm truly fulfilled with having this child, and this child represents my legacy and things of that nature, then why do I feel like I need to have another one? There's something to really think about. If this job is fulfilling my needs and giving me everything that I want, why do I feel that I need to get paid more? Because when I started the job, I was taking care of bills and stuff. What happened in between that time? I filled that space. I needed to keep filling that space to keep that impulse going, to keep that 90 seconds going, that 90-second wave going. So think about how you created your space. Now you have the house, you got your car, you got family, you got all of these things, but you feel like you need more. Now you build up this entire wall of adornments, but now you need more on something else. Now you need to keep that charge. All that's light. All that's projection. All that's projected from your fear, your shame, all of that shit you ain't dealing with. So let's go back to when I said when I was sitting inside of that closet and I was cleaning out my closet for the first time ever. None of my clothes fit. The shirts didn't fit. The hats didn't fit. None of the shit fit. I was stuck in within time, so I'm looking like, yo, this is last year. This shirt's from 3 years ago. Can't wear this anymore. People gonna look at me like I'm crazy for wearing something from 3 years ago. Now, I get up, go for a walk, or I go out about my day. Back in that time, I was catching the bus. So now I get on the bus, and then I'm going to the mall. This is crazy how you see everything line up. I'm going to the mall, and I'm on the bus. I'm going to the mall. I got on my latest outfit or whatever. I'm planning on getting something new. And when I'm at the mall, I get off the bus. I see a dude wearing an old FUBU Platinum t-shirt or I see somebody wearing an old Adidas shirt, and I'm seeing them wearing this shirt. I'm like, why don't they get new clothes? They walked out the house like that? Why they must be coming to the mall too. I'm trying to validate my reason. I'm trying to validate my reason for being there. I guess they coming to the mall too to buy new clothes. They had the same idea I had. I'm trying to keep them locked. I'm trying to validate my reason for being there. It's the same thing when you go to your job. And I remember going to my job all the time and everybody being mad or upset and mad they gotta work and shit. I'm trying to validate. I'm trying to like include myself in their lives. Like, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Bruh, Los, you ain't got kids. Damn, that's what y'all mad at? Cause you gotta pay child support? Oh. Yeah, I ain't got no kids. I remember for an entire month, I remember for like a good month straight, I created a song in my mind. I was like, every time I got paid, I'd be like, I got no kid money. Hey, I got no kid money. I got no kid money. Do what I want, I got no kid money. And I don't know why I made that song up. But then I really sat with it. I was like, I'm trying to give myself validation. I'm trying to live within this validation, this emotional impulse. I'm trying to reinforce or give recognition to the fact that I'm about to go spend this money at the mall. I'm trying to reinforce that I'm going to go spend this money at the mall. I'm going to go spend this money on everything else. But then when it comes time for me to actually have to do something based on investing, I can't invest. I'm literally stuck in the consumer mindset. The unhealed space is the consumer mindset. The unhealed space is the consumer mindset. The healed space is the healing space is the investment space. And once you've done that healing work and that internal work and you come down into that new space, now you be in developer mode or your creator. Now you're in the space of self-healing. This whenever you looked at Bobby Hemmett, he was talking about like, I didn't have none of the oil I needed or none of the shit that I needed. But then I went and had some fucking, I had a peach soda and I said, it's the peach soda. It's fruit in there. I'm going to drink this. And then boom, I'm be healed. I healed myself with peach soda. As you're changing your dynamic of your space, as you're learning to sit in your heart space, as you're learning to feel, you only can feel based on awareness. You only are aware, your awareness is only to the depth that you can feel. Let's wait for this truck to go by. Learning that my awareness is based on the depth in which I feel. Learning that my awareness is only based on the depth that I feel. And the depth of my feelings are only understood based on the level of vulnerability or transparency I have within that space is the only way that I can actually implement my intentions. I can only implement my intentions in that space. So if I'm not sitting in my heart space, all of my intentions become secondary. As soon as I create an intention, it's secondary. It's for something. As soon as I create the intention, that I need money for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now it's the intentions are now it's behind that. Now it's for something. That means I'll never reach my intentions in truth with myself because I'm waiting for something to happen. So now I'm going to put positivity on top of that to smother the flame, to smother myself in that space, because I'm used to restriction. I'm used to constricting myself. I'm used to shutting myself down. I'm used to being shut down. I'm used to the pressure. I'm used to being up against the wall. So since I'm used to that and I'm used to surviving inside of that space, I'll make a bunch of moves, ideas, every idea I have, everything that I study, everything that I take in, every time that I meditate, every time that I go sun gaze, every time that I ground, everything that I do only feeds the emotion that it doesn't work, that it's not in play, that it won't work, that I don't have enough experience. And I don't have enough experience, I don't have enough experience in the negative pile, so it doesn't serve me. So now when it comes time for me to learn new experiences, I can't learn them. I cannot take on the process of new experience. My mind shuts down every time the experience doesn't give me a certain result for the first time ever. My mind gets locked inside of that. So now what comes to the surface is doing it for you. But since you're doing it unconsciously, it always does it for you. Your ego brings up, but you remember this time? You remember this time? You remember this? You remember that? Look at all these grades. Look at everything that you did before this and it didn't work. What makes you think that this is going to work? Now you created that new dialogue is playing out in your head. And when I break it down to my clients all the time, that dialogue, when we look at the dialogue, that sign or that energy has to have the voice, and that voice becomes the unresolved with your mom, the unresolved with your pops, the unresolved with those relationships. Every title that every relationship based on the title. So every relationship didn't work because you were the best girlfriend or the best boyfriend ever. But when it came time, okay, you graduated from girlfriend to baby mother. You graduated from baby father to you'll never be the husband, because you don't have the skill set or the experiences. You never had the experience past being a baby father, because your whole mindset, your entire reality was based on, I will never let my kids not have me in their life. I will never let anybody go through the pain that I went through. But in order for me to make sure no one goes through the pain that I went through, I must keep that pain locked in. I gotta keep that pain locked in. So that now becomes my reflection of my for, the reflection of my because, the reflection of what I'm an advocate for, the reflection for that aspect. So I never can groom or create a space that's based on that. It's like using the aspect of, we need a school for our kids and we need schools. The moment that you said that, and then the pandemic hit, and then everybody had to do homeschool or remote learning, that was the feedback of fear of secondary taking care of your kids in the house. But before that, if you were paying attention to the commercials that were on TV, there's like 9 different programs that I can think of off the top of my head that are homeschool programs. There are 9 different, they're like almost 9 to 10 of them joints of homeschooling programs. Man, but that costs money. I ain't got time to do that. There's somebody around you that has time to do it. There's somebody around you right now that literally, that's all that they think about and all that they want to do. But since you're based on consumer and not based on investing, you haven't done the investment with yourself, you can't see that part. So now you get stuck in that space. you can't imagine what that space would look like. This is when we talk about imagination. You can't imagine what that space looked like. When you imagine that space, it's so elaborate and it's so elaborate and complex because you're using filler to fill that space. In order for me, like, use an example, when I first was actually being aspects of being like coming into what I do now, I thought about some of the most crazy ass shit in terms of disheartening myself. I thought about the wildest shit to dishearten myself. I was thinking like, yo, I gotta have the desk and I gotta have the chair, because on all the TV shows they got a long ass couch and they got a chair and they got this, and I gotta have all of these things. 80% of my clientele I do via video. 80% of my clientele I do via video. Video call, phone call, video call. They're inside of their space. I'm inside of my space. What's different from my space and their space? My space is based on me doing the work. Wait. I'm doing the work inside of my space mentally. So as I start doing it inside of my heart space, I'm now creating from the heart space, constructively and intentionally creating from the heart space. Now I can start evaluating the spaces that I'm in and why I always end up in those spaces. Any space that does not allow me to be the full aspects of myself and potential of where I'm at now, that's not a space I need to be in. Any space that, in the same instance, any space that allows me to have that freedom or that openness, that sovereignty in it, that's where I'm learning from as well. But I have to learn both spaces. That's why if you look at the post that I posted earlier today, the post I put today too, and I put in parentheses, but what if I have kids? And what if I have this? And what if I have a partner that doesn't support me? And what if I have this? And what about this? And what about this? And I literally put that in parentheses, and I said, put under there, go ahead and book your session. Because instead of me always being reactive, even in the aspects of once you build your space, you're learning how to respond through your space. I respond through my heart space. My key of my heart space, everything that I do through my heart space is the aspects to grow, to expand. So everything that I do naturally is going to be based on growth and expansion. Now that I'm open and aware and vulnerable and I've defined that aspect with myself, anything that's not of that on the surface, the reason I'm not looking at it based on surface, I'm looking at it based on the depth of myself. Now, here goes the trigger part. Because when I first started doing that, I was that nigga that was like, I can save everybody. I'm going to save everybody and make everybody good. I'm going to give everybody a space so they can expand and learn and be okay with themselves. Different space, different level of access. Different space, different level of access. One of the biggest things that we have to learn is not putting ourselves in spaces where everybody can't have access to that space. So that takes somebody believing in me off the table. That takes what used to support me based on my old self off the table automatically. That took friends, that took family, that took friends, that took family, that took jobs, that took relationships, that took all of that off the table. Now I got more space. How do I make more space on the table? Assess where you're going, and is any of that based on where you're going? Any of that makes you feel some type of way, man, if I start doing this, motherfuckers gonna start thinking that I'm crazy. Motherfuckers gonna start thinking that I'm out of my mind and I'm not eating the same way I used to eat or doing what I used to do. They're gonna look at me like I lost my... Okay, why does that make you feel that way? Man, okay, they're supposed to be my brother. They're supposed to be family. What's the definition of your brother or your family? Family is anything based in support. Based in support in my growth. Anything related to me If we look at the theory of relativity, anything related to me is only relative based on the reaction to that trauma. So me not sitting in my heart space has me in the lower aspects of thinking family based on supporting me based on where I'm at. That means I got to keep doing what I've been doing. So I never raise my standard. I never raise my standard. And when I do raise my standard, I've raised it based on a falsehood. I've raised my whole standard. I used to raise my whole standard based on falsehoods. And since I was raising my standard based, when you raise your standard based on a falsehood, that's when all of the adornments and all of the distractions and all of that, all the other shit come up. Like, yay, I'm in this space now. I want to look rich. Let me go get three baller ass chains. Let me go get that car. Let me go get that. Let me go get these things in that space at that time. Let me go get all those things. Let me go get all that shit. But then, since I got that based on the emotional impulse, that shit don't last. Now, because I can't create anything down here. I had to realize that I can't create shit. You can't create shit down here. You only create in your higher self. You only can create in the higher spaces of self. Everything else you do is an imitation. That's why you got so many people that is like, that's why you got that's the difference between you actually being inside of your genius with yourself. I'm in my genius with oneself. Me sitting here having this conversation, I wouldn't have had this 8 years ago. I wouldn't have had this 9 years ago. I couldn't speak. I would be scared as fuck. I wasn't ready for it. Sitting in your heart space lets you know exactly what you're ready for. Sitting in your heart space lets you know exactly what you're ready for and exactly what you need to do. Sitting in your heart space makes you sit back and realize like, yo, even though I haven't been doing what I need to be doing, I can still do it now. This is my time to do that shit now. I can't keep looking for this external validation of it and trying to find my way to stay relevant. And as I started doing these things, this is when shit started changing. And the more that I kept getting into it, the more shit started changing. Shit scared the shit out of me. Pissed me off, I felt every fucking emotion, but it was necessary. I had to realize I had to get to a point when I've talked about getting into the no self. We've heard about getting into the no self. The no self is only explored in the heart space. The no self is removing everything that you thought that you were. Everything that validated you being a certain way. All of that shit comes up. And then you sitting there like, I really haven't been doing this is when you have the conversation with yourself. I haven't been doing anything with my life. The bird loves singing when I'm out. I haven't really been doing anything. I remember the realest thing that I said to myself ever was the moment where I was put inside of a position, and though I said I was ready for it, I was saying it from a place of thought. And since I was saying it from a place of just simply thought, all I would think was, I got to think positive that I can get through this. And the more that I focused on the positive, as I'm ignoring my negatives, I'm ignoring everybody else's negatives. But now that I'm in this space with myself and I'm thinking in the aspects of constructively, intentionally, everything that I do has an intention. Therefore, everything that I do has me online. Therefore, everything that I do is naturally spiritual. I don't have to become spiritual. I'm already spiritual. So everything that I do is based on the intentions of me being inside of my balance of what spirituality is of me. So now everything that I do naturally is constructed based on magnifying my spiritual presence, my emotional presence. So now everything that I naturally do that comes up that triggers me is things that I need to work on next. That shit has to happen. Whether it seems whether it seems negative or it seems positive, I'm not really looking at it as negative and positive anymore. Does it serve me or does it not? Will this serve me in the next 5 years or will it not serve me in the next 5 years? Even though this is serving me now, is it really conducive or is this going to make me really complacent? Is what I'm feeding on right now going to make me complacent? And as I started sitting with those aspects, I was able to create the new space. Still building it. Because I'm still developing. I'm still developing the space. I'm still growing inside of the space. Still learning new shit as I expand. But the main key is I actually have a foundation. You have to create your foundation first. The boundaries that you set in the beginning of your healing process are some of your first foundations. The boundaries that I set 8 years ago are now the roots. Those are the roots. That's the roots. That cultivated the ground. The boundaries that I set now, these are the aspects of those are building on a new structure. So now I can build. Because I've already done all of the construction I needed to do. Now everything else is like renovations. Sitting in your heart space is sitting in your creator space. Sitting in your heart space is sitting in the creator space. If you sit in your heart space and it's based on fear, the results become fear. If I'm sitting in my heart space based on fear, then my results become fear. If I'm sitting in my heart space based on the aspects of love, based on understanding, based on that higher aspects of myself, then I create based on that. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about the aspects of as you're creating your new space and you're creating your new as you're shifting your paradigm and you're coming into this 4D reality, your mind had to be the 4D reality. Let's get metaphysical and scientific to it. The 4D reality was somewhere that was your mindset the entire time. You're waiting for this to happen when it already is happening. By the time we've already heard, by the time you see it in the physical form, it's already happened. So what you're reacting to is your impulse of, oh my God, I feel like I missed it. You're in it. But you got to see where you're at in it. You can't keep basing your life on what everybody else was doing in it. That came from me in my aspects of my earlier shadow work and me doing my earlier healing. I had to stop doing things based on what everybody else was doing. Because everybody else was making moves. And I wanted to be a part of the moves. But there was no progress. I.e., tax season every year for niggas. Now you got tax season and went away, or it's down to a dwindle. Then it became stimulus checks. Then it became unemployment. Then it became, now you're looking at the stock market is in a major reset. Everything's in a reset or in a learning phase again. That's why I said Sunday, this is the greatest time ever to learn some shit. All you have left is learning your shit. I talked about that shit last year when I was talking about the aspects of your shadow. That shit is so fucking dense. All you have left is your shadow to learn. That's all that's left is learning and applying what you learned. That's all that's left. That's all that it's ever been. We taught for years and years and years and years and years for the chance to actually thrive. But from the impulse state, thinking positive, all we got to do is wait for our 40 acres. this is your result. So I'm going to be the first one to say, I'm going to say it again, fuck thinking positive. It's time to think constructively and intentionally. It's time to think it's time to start moving and stop thinking based on what to think positive about, and go into the how to think constructively and intentionally. How do I set my intentions? What am I constructing around these intentions? This is what I talked about, the aspects of 70 to 70, 30. I'm only giving 30% of my energy to the physical space. And that's broken down into 15 to 15%. The other 70% is always going to be built in my spiritual aspects. 70%, that means 40% is the energy that I'm focusing towards it. And the 30% is inside of my intentions. The 30% that comes down here is my result. This is the result of me moving inside of that space. If I don't like what I'm seeing, if I don't like the result, I got to go back and look at my intentions. That's all that's left. That's all that's left. But yeah, I wanted to come out. I was sitting there. I was about to do a whole TikTok video, but I know how I am whenever I'm speaking about things and breaking things down. I was just going to keep breaking it down further and further. So I was like, you know what? Let's go live. Let's drop that information out. Drop the download. You're no longer in a space of attracting. You're inside of a space of aligning. What you're aligned with, what you're getting right now, are the results of all of the work that you've done, especially since we're in the Saturn retrograde. Learn how to use it. Stop allowing yourself to be used and start learning how to use it. That's all that you got out here, is learning how to use this shit. All this shit is for you to use. You don't understand it? It's time for you to sit in that heart space. As I always say in the aspects of, hello, I'm Papa Luz Pasamdi. You're a cult therapist, shadow shaman, and your guide. My dedication to myself creates my space. Your dedication to yourself brought you to this space. Everything from the consultations, setting up sessions, consultation sessions, any other of my works, everything else that we doing, we building, stay tuned for it. Everything else that we doing, we building to it. You got to understand exactly, though, you in the laws of this shit, like, you're working within your laws and you don't want to listen to the law. Look, the thing when it comes to these laws is you've been creating based on the laws, but you ain't been living inside of the intentions with your law. You ain't setting no intention to the laws. So then you wanted to create a bylaw or a bylaw you wanted to live in the byproduct of the law instead of actually living inside of the law. But I desire you to be the motherfucking best. I'm going to sit here for a little bit and enjoy these trees and the birds are singing and the birds is chirping and the birds are singing and all that good shit. I'm going to enjoy this nice cool weather because I've been blessed with the cool weather. And then I'm going to start I got sessions planned out for the day. But I desire you to be the fucking best. From this point is your beginning. How do you decide to invest in your change? I love you. We love us. Ashe.